We're going to start this show by handing Shannon Sharpe a silver platter topic. Christian McCaffrey is the son of Ed McCaffrey, Shannon's longtime teammate in Denver. And Shannon watched little Christian grow up around the locker room with the Broncos. And I'm still predicting he will lose this debate. Watch.
There's zero chance.
All right,
Skip,
what a way to start.
Come down. Oh, Jenny, before you go, Skip, just for you, I'm going to come down from Bel Air and play nice. And then I'm going to go back up to my palatial estate and be back to my normal self.
I'm scared.
You're going to play nice, Shannon. Okay. That'll be a first for all of us. But yes, Skip mentioned it. You do have a relationship with Christian McCaffrey, but that doesn't help you here. We're going to talk about everything with the latest. We got to start with the NFL because, guys, we've got a running back who is going to cash in. Last season, Christian McCaffrey had the third most yards from scrimmage in NFL history, and now he and the Panthers have agreed to a 4-year contract extension, making him the highest paid running back in NFL history, averaging $16 million a year. Shannon, only appropriate, I ask you first, will Christian McCaffrey live up to this new deal?
Yeah. Skip, the way I look at it like this, he's exceeded expectations of what people thought he would be because most people thought he was too small to run between the tackles. And predominantly, that's where he runs. Now, he does have ability and elusiveness to get outside. He's a home run threat. He's tremendous in the receiving game. But, Skip, if you watched him in college, you could tell that he could hold up because that Stanford offense is a pro-style offense, and they run between the tackles. That's the exact same offense that Andrew Luck played in, which made him so palatable because, what? It's a pro-style offense. He takes the snap up under the center. So he was prototypical. Christian McCaffrey is everything you would want in a running back. Yeah, sure, you'd like for him to be 220. But what can't he do at 205, 207 that a 220 does? He can run the ball with power. He has escapability. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Skip, when you perform as well as this young man has, and you're not rewarded with a long-term deal, there's something seriously wrong with the system. There's something also wrong with the system, Skip, is that every time, the running back comes time to get drafted, the running back's devalued. It comes time for him to get paid. The running back's devalued. Not one time did I hear in the playoffs did someone say, Derrick Henry's devalued. When Christian McCaffrey is going for 2 bills in scrimmage yards, not one time did I say he was devalued. Only when it's coming into the draft or it's time to get paid is the running back devalued. The guy has outperformed that contract. Reward him. The thing that I'm surprised, let me take that back. I'm just glad he didn't have to do like so many other players, threaten to hold out, sit out the Aaron Donalds, the Khalil Mack, the Zeke Elliott, the guy, the Jets, Skip, I forget his name, for the Jets, the running back from the Steelers, Le'Veon Bell. They have to threaten to hold out, or Le'Veon, or actually hold out. Carolina says, bruh, you've been everything. And what choice do they really have now, Skip? No Cam, no Luke Kuechly. He was their best player on the roster last year. He's their best player now, so you got to have a start. Teddy Bridgewater, we'll see. But Teddy Bridgewater is not more popular, is not more valuable than Christian McCaffrey. So they rewarded their star player, as they should.
Shannon Sharpe, I know how much you love this young man. I know how much I started loving this young man when we had him on the show in Miami on South Beach at this last Super Bowl, because he is a stud of a young man. He is high class, high character, extreme intangibles. Just on intangibles alone, I would put him on a Hall of Fame arc. I loved how he carried himself. I loved how mature he was. I loved his perspective. He is everything I would want as the centerpiece of my locker room. And the one thing I loved about what the new coach, Matt Rule, said was, he's what we want to rebuild our culture around. He is the new centerpiece, said Matt Rule, of everything they want to become as a franchise. that could be a kind of between the lines, under the line shot at Cam Newton, who was never the greatest leader for that locker room. Obviously, Cam is a much better, to me, a much better player as a quarterback than Christian will ever be as a running back. But I'm just talking about the intangible impact of how hard this young man works, how hard he plays, how much he does for your offense. All that is A+, A+, A+. Now we get back to what you just mentioned. He is still 200 pounds. They are 200 of the in-shapest pounds you will ever find in the National Football League. Nobody's going to work harder or stay fitter than Christian does at 200 pounds. But my gut tells me, and history is screaming at you, he will not be worth this contract. This contract could pay him as much as $75 million over the next 6 years. And Shannon, I'm going to knock on wood over here on my little desk way down here in the flats. I'm looking way up there in Beverly Hills in your palatial, in Bel Air, your palatial estate. But I'm knocking on wood down here in my humble abode for Christian McCaffrey, hoping he can endure the beating he is going to take, because they are going to build their whole offense on the field around this young man. And Shannon, I don't think he can take the pounding. And you brought up Stanford his last year. The one reservation I had on him was he stayed hurt his last year at Stanford. He got pounded. He got beat up. They're much more of a running football team than the Panthers will ever think about being. And Christian couldn't quite take that beating at Stanford. He ran 4.4 in the 40, which is not 4.2, but it's very fast for a 200-pounder. He has not good hands. He has very good hands, so he does catch the ball. And the other thing that I did like that Matt Rule said was that it's disrespectful to Christian to call him a running back. Matt Rule said he's a tailback / wideout. And I will give you that, tailback / wideout. But that young man, tailback / wideout, do you realize how many touches he had last year? He led the NFL by far in touches, Shannon, with 403. That was 48 more than next on the list, which was my man, Ezekiel Elliott. So 48 more times he either caught or carried the football and got hit. I guess sometimes he scored a touchdown and maybe he didn't get hit, but most of those times he got hit, and many of those times he got hit hard. History tells you you can't take that kind of pounding, because what happened to my man Zeke last year, over the last 4 years, he's led the NFL in touches, catches, and carries, mostly carries on Zeke's part. But Shannon, my man Zeke, he looked like he was running in Cabo San last year after he held out in Cabo San Lucas, came back, got his money, and then I couldn't really recognize him. He didn't look like the same Zeke. He finished 4th in rushing in a league that he has won the rushing title in 2 of the previous 3 years and led in yards per game 3 of the previous 3 years. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at his yards per game, and Shannon, they're falling and falling. From his rookie year, he went 109 a game, then 98 a game, then 96 a game, then 85 a game last year. Down, 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 pounded, pounded, pounded. And it's looking like Zeke just might not live up to the money Jerry gave him, which is now the second best money in the league to Christian. But to me, if you're extending Christian out 6 years, I'm sorry. I don't see how that smaller man can take the beating that Zeke has failed to take last year. Zeke goes 6 feet, 225. So he weighs 25 more pounds than Christian does. Does he take more pounding? Is he more of a high contact? Yeah, I'll give you that. But Shannon, in the end, as much as I'm going to root for the young man as a young man, as you do, I'm sorry. I think this was a bad idea.
Well, Skip, when you look at it, it is a little concerning, because normally when a guy starts getting around 380 to 400 touches in a season, that's normally the point of no return. But But I think what guys do now, Skip, in the old days, guys would get that many carries during the season, but they were practicing Wednesdays and Thursdays. They were doing more contact. I don't think that's the case in today's game, Skip. I would be surprised if Christian McCaffrey ever practices on a Wednesday, considering the amount of carries that he get during the game. Because remember, Skip, he plays 90% of the snaps. It's not like, they have a back for third down and a back, a short yardage back for this. He's the back. So short yardage, he's getting the ball. Third down, they're throwing him the ball. Second down, he's on the field. So he's an every down back. But I love what Matt Rule said. This is what, when they want to reward you, they says, don't list him as a running back, and rightfully so. He's also a receiver. Le'Veon Bell tried to get that. They said, Le'Veon, get out of here. You crazy. Dude. Even though the guy had like 80-something catches, Le'Veon, you a running back. That's all you do is just run the ball, yada, yada, yada. Skip, is that my thing is this. When a guy performs, you can't look at it because you're not thinking about that, well, in 6 years from now, he might not be this. You're giving him the ball. He's earning that payday at some point in time. Because, Skip, we look at these contracts that some of these quarterbacks got. Are they going to be worth the money that they're getting at the end of 6 years? Or some of these defensive players, are they going to be worth that money? No, you can't look at it like he might not be worth it. You reward the guy for his play right now. Christian McCaffrey has earned this huge payday. And Skip, when you look at it, Skip, the deal kicks in after his rookie deal. You mentioned it's basically when you project it all out, what he's going to make this year, what he would make in his fifth-year option. It's like it's going to end up being 6 years at $75 million. That's about 12 and a half a year. So theoretically, they said 4 years extension, $64 million. But when you combine the 2 years that's still left on the contract, it's 6 years for a little more than 75. So basically 12 and a half a year. That's not bad money. But if I'm a Derrick Henry like, hold on. This is what you're starting to see, Skip. There's a limit on pay in which they'll pay a running back, but there's not a limit on production. So if I'm Derrick Henry, say for $10 million, that's 1,000 yards. And for every 100 yards after that, that'll cost you $1 million. So if you want 1,500 yards rushing, you got to pay $15 million. Because you see what they did, Skip? They will put a limit on pay, but they don't never put a limit on production. Well, how about I just play 13 games for this $10 million? Well, how about I just run for, and if I'm a receiver, Skip, how about I just catch 1,100 yards and 75 passes as opposed to 100 for 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns? See, if you want to limit my pay, shouldn't I limit your production? Come on. The NFL's got it backwards, Skip. It's the only, think about this, Skip. This is the only sport that they limit the play because if you're a quarterback, you make this. DB, you make that. Point guards make the same incentives as a small forward in the NBA. Pitchers make the same as an outfielder.
Okay, I hear you. But here's where I think you have it backward. You're saying he's earned this contract. So you're saying he should be paid for what he has done. I'm always about paying somebody for what you project they will do. So it's not about what Christian has done. That obviously put him in the category of can he make top dollar? But you have to project his position in the beating he is about to take as it pertains to how much will he be worth to you next year, and the next year, even the next 3 years.
Yes.
Are you going to see his production start to decline because he's taking too many hits? What have we seen? You brought up Le'Veon. What have we seen, or what didn't we see from Le'Veon last year with the Jets? He had his worst year, and I'm sure he's starting to feel the effects of cumulative hits over the last 6 years. What did we see from Todd Gurley last year with the Rams when everybody thought he was it? He was godlike at the running back position. We saw arthritic knees and God knows what else, just cumulative hits. And he, in his fifth year, had his worst year of his career, and they flat out cut him, and now he's an Atlanta Falcon. God bless him there. And then Zeke, in his fourth year last year, we saw him, maybe cumulative hits, suddenly have his worst career stats by far. So I just went Le'Veon in sixth year, Gurley in his fifth, Zeke in his fourth, worst year. Yikes. What are we doing here? This is the one position where you can't pay them for what you project because they probably won't live up to that.
Well, let me explain and let me take Zeke first. Do you believe this offense is the exact same offense and that Zeke led the league in rushing his rookie year to right now? Do you believe this is the same offense? Absolutely not. You know it turned into a passing offense. That's why Dak was what, second in the league in passing? Hold up, Dak threw for barely 3,000 yards his rookie year. Now he's 5,000, and you say the offense hasn't changed.
Okay, timeout.
Come on, Skip.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Okay, let me respond. On first downs last year, Ezekiel Elliott was second in the entire NFL in carries on first down. That means you are a run-based offense. He finished 18th in yards per carry on first down. So they were handing it to him almost as much as they handed it to Derrick Henry. He was second. And yet he's tied for 18th in yards per carry on first down. That means you tried to make it a run-based offense, but no, it was 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 9, and then Dak would complete a pass, and Dak was always throwing them out of holes that Zeke dug. That's why he had so many passing yards. By the way, you said a lot of his passing yards were empty calories.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. If this is a running team, why is Dak top 5 in pass attempts for a running team? Because you know what happens, Skip. They fall behind. See, when they fall behind, that's all Zeke's fault. If they come back and he has a big day, that's all Dak, but it's empty calories. Let me go to Le'Veon. So what effect did that year holding out? What year did that have on Le'Veon's body? Skip, most times we don't see professional athletes skip an entire season and then come back and pick exactly up where they left off. That has something to do with it. But here's my problem that I have with you and the NFL. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Christian McCaffrey did not do what he done. In the first 3 years, he had yet to crack 1,000 yards. They release him. You okay with that? Now he outperforms the contract. You got a problem with him paying him. Well, Skip, how the hell does a person win? If I don't perform, you cut me. If I overperform, you like, we just play the contract out. Damn if he do, damn if he doesn't.
Shannon, it's the one position where the window is closing quickly. So you hope that you draft correctly and you score in the draft, as I still think the Cowboys scored with the 4th overall pick. And I still think the Panthers were correct to pick Christian McCaffrey because he was definitely better than I thought he was going to be. But that was for 3 years. And now the window starts to close. But you said, he's such a great kid. Let's pay him. Let's make him the centerpiece of our locker room and our attack. Let's go run and sort of short pass based with our new quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, who's more in the game manager mold, and hope he can stand up Christian to the pounding. So Shannon, look at this. Look at this, because you'll appreciate this. These are players from your era. Christian was obviously only the 3rd player in history to go 1,000 plus and 1,000 plus on yards carrying the ball and yards catching
Marshall
the ball.
Faulk and Roger Craig.
So we go back to, that's correct. So let's go back to Roger Craig, 1985. He touched it 306 times that year, carries and catches. Then let's go to Marshall Faulk in 99, 340. It took him 340 carries, catches total to get to 1,000. Now we go to Christian McCaffrey, 403. So we went Roger Craig, 306, Marshall Faulk, 340, and all of a sudden we vault all the way to 403 on Christian McCaffrey. Wow, that's a lot of touches, catches, and carries for a little man. He's a small man. By any standard, he's a smallish running back. And I'm just saying, I hope he can take the pounding. But I don't know, because that was an aberration in his career to go to all the way to 403, because look at what Christian did. As a rookie, he touched it 197 times. Then it went to sophomore year, 326. Then 3rd year, 403. Well, they're saying, just give it to him. Things are happening. He's electric. Give him the ball. Okay, that's great. But what has happened to the football team the last 2 years as his carries went up. The Panthers went 7-9 his sophomore year, and then 5-11 his third year last year. In large part, Cam was battered, beat up, couldn't play last year, so they had to resort to Kyle Allen. I get that. But the point is, you say devalue the running back position. Well, you can't do what a quarterback can do, what a good one can do, because Christian had not a good year, he had a great year. He had an all-time great year. And what happened, Shannon Sharpe? They went 5-11. Is he worth $75 million?
Yes.
No.
Yes, Skip. But here's the thing on why he went to so many carries. You look at Roger Craig and you say the low number of touches that he had to get 1,000. He also had John Taylor, Jerry Rice, and Joe Montana as his quarterbacks. You look at Marshall Faulk. He had Kurt Warner in the Hall of Fame. He had Isaac Bruce that's going to the Hall of Fame or in the Hall of Fame. Torrey Holt, Azahir Hakeem, Ricky Prohl. So you look at what he has, and then you look at what Christian McCaffrey got. Now, what guy that can you name the guy? Greg Olsen. That's all he has. Those outside receivers. Now, DJ Moore is starting to step up, but he got nothing out of the quarterback position, Skip. Obviously, you would like to see his touches start to come down. You'd like to try to keep him over the next couple of years, Skip, somewhere between 325 and 350. You don't want him to get him to that 375, 400 again, Skip, because like I said, 400 carries is normally point of no return. There have only been a handful of running backs. I can only think of one that had 400 carries. That was ED. I think he went 400 is 388, maybe his first year, or 406, and then followed it up because he went 1808 and then 2105. But Skip, normally, you look at Eddie George, you look at DeMarco Murray, you look at guys that the guy after pre-home, I forget, Smith. You look at those, when they start getting that 375, that 400, Skip, they don't normally come back. But I think the times have changed because I would be surprised if Christian McCaffrey practices on Wednesday, probably do a little bit on Thursday to try to preserve his body if you're going to put that many touches on his body. Larry Johnson. Remember Skip for the Kansas City? He went back-to-back a bunch of those carries, and then he dropped off a cliff. So you got Skip, I'll concede this. You got to be careful. Now, you can't put that many carries on him back-to-back because now you're going to speed up. Skip, you take that many carries. Look, there's only, like you said, when a running back has this many carries, plays this many snaps, it's not the 10-year window that we would normally see for a running back that's getting 250, maybe 300 carries. You're going to have to condense that. So he might only have 6 or 7 years, but it's going to be 6 or 7 great years, and that's all you can hope for.
By the way, speaking of our friend Eric Dickerson, Shannon, every time I see him in the hallway at Fox, he's limping, dragging around. He's half bent over. He's got his back. He needs epidural steroid shot in his spine to get him back upright. I've been trying to get him to play golf with me, and he says, my back's too bad. But maybe here in the near future, once they open back up the golf courses here, I know I have to play at public courses. You play up there at Bel Air Country Club, but that's a whole nother issue. But the point is that, But the point is that Derrick Henry is, what did you say when you saw him on the sideline? 260? Is he 270? I don't know.
Easy.
He's a monster of a man.
Easy.
Yes, okay.
Absolutely.
So Christian is barely 200. 200, as they say, soaking wet. And I know he's got a great fitness team around him, and I know nobody cares more and tries harder to keep his body fresh than Christian. If anybody can beat this system, Christian can. But to sum this up for me, Shannon, I don't play fantasy football. All I do is bet cases of Diet Dew against you here, so I got my pride and my due here on this show. So I don't need fantasy football. I get it if you can win your league with the running back, because obviously in fantasy, running backs are highly valued scoring touchdowns. So I get that. Right. But a lot of people get swept up in, did you see what Todd Gurley did last year, or Ezekiel or Le'Veon or whoever it might be? Christian McCaffrey. He could win you your fantasy league, but I don't care about fantasy football. I care about the Panthers being able to win games. And there's a part of me that believes that Matt Rule, who, again, is a career-long college football coach, except for one weird year. In 2012, Matt Rule was on Tom Coughlin's staff with the Giants as the assistant offensive line coach. I don't know how that happened, why that happened, or why it didn't last, but he was only there for 1 year. So basically, his mentality is college football. And Christian McCaffrey, for a college football coach, is a coach's dream. It's the kind of player every college coach wants to be able to coach and to get to know and to be around. And I'm with you on that. He's going to be a joy to coach for the next 5 or 6 years. I'm just not sure he's going to be a joy to pay, because I don't think he can live up to that much money given the position he's playing and how much they're going to ask him to produce for this offense.
Well, we're going to find out. I believe in him.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.